to have options, to be able to choose, you have to know that there are options. If you don't know that there are options, you don't have a choice because you have nothing to choose from.
Hi, it's Kara from Bellatrist.
And Ebony from Epic Reads, and we are here with Kweke Emezi, the author of Pet, and we're talking about Pet and Jam, who is the main character, as she sort of uncovers monsters that are hiding in plain sight.
For people who haven't read the book, can you tell us a little more about Jam?
So Jam is a teenager who lives in the town Lucille. She is a black trans girl. She's into books. Her best friend's name is Redemption. She speaks with multiple dialects, like she signs, she voices, and then when Pet comes along, they like speak telepathically. I think that's like the little package of her.
And so this sort of ties into what we talked about in the last episode in terms of labels. And I literally was talking about how we sort of have these idea of like what a label is and how you describe something, and certain words is used to describe something or someone. And it's needed now more than ever to sort of have these characters, these central characters as protagonists, as young trans characters, especially for trans people of color, especially in the YA space. So you said in an interview that I want to cast a spell where a black trans girl is never hurt. So in addition to sort of normalizing trans characters, was it also important for you to paint this character as a hero rather than sort of like that sassy black girl, or that, you know, those certain characters that we're used to seeing in film and TV that it's not the case. Yes, exactly. It's not the case here.
Yeah, I very much wanted her to be centered. Like, I was like, she is the focus of this. She is the main character. She is the hero. Mm-hmm. I wanted her to be the center of that because I don't know if I've ever seen that, like, in mainstream YA, at least, with, like, a black trans girl. And even her name, like, points to that. So her name is actually Igbo, and it translates to praise me. And I was like, I wanted this little girl whose name means praise me, and she's loved, and she's the center of everything, and really just to, like, amplify her in that way, because I want, like, black trans kids to know that, you know, you are worthy of being amplified. I feel like so many people relegate black trans people to, like, the sidelines, or it's like, oh, you're only relevant like when you're dead and you're a hashtag, and then people can get like performance points for being like, oh, so sad. And I wanted to push back against that.
One of the things I found really interesting about her character is you don't focus too much on the fact that she is a trans character. It's just sort of as it is. Did you do this on purpose? Did you sort of make her identity an afterthought on purpose, as to say this is just who she is?
I don't know if I would say it's an afterthought. I think it's just, like I said, like another detail of her life, because the story wasn't about her gender. Like, the story is about, you know, monsters in this town. Mm-hmm. And it's not really talked about much throughout the book, because the book happens, I think, in 3 or 4 days. And I was just like, she's got bigger problems. Like a creature just came out of her mom's painting and is telling her there's a monster in her best friend's house. Like, whatever, like, personal stuff she has going on really fades in this moment. And so, I did want to just make it, you know, a regular part of her life. I don't think in the book the word trans is even used. And it's just kind of given as background to her and her family. Mm-hmm. And I did want to show a trans character who lives in a world where she is supported and where she's cherished by her family, by her community. Her parents support all her decisions. And because I thought that was important, I feel like with books, I'm often thinking about what function I want them to have in the world to the readers. And one of my interests is that I'm not particularly interested in writing books where the character, especially if it's like a young black character who's like marginalized in whatever way, is basically just going to have to deal with crappiness. Mm-hmm. Because my thing is, that's your life already. Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't go to books personally to read about how crappy the world is now, because I'm already living it. So I'm like, I want this book to have a different function. Like, I do very much believe in the importance of books that do show like what's happening now. But one of the things in writing stories about, underrepresented characters is that I often think about, okay, it's not just who the story is about, but it's also who the story is for. So you can absolutely write a book about a Black trans girl that's not actually for Black trans kids. That's for everyone else to learn about them and look at it and be like, oh my goodness, your life, it's just so tragic. And I know a lot of people think, this is how like you build empathy. I personally don't believe in courting empathy from people who don't really think you're human in the first place.
Yes.
So I'm just like, this is not my focus.
Yeah.
This is not my audience. I don't need to tell the people I'm writing this book for that, when you, like, what you have to look forward to is a life where people are going to try and kill you. All that, like, they know.
Yeah.
So what else can the book do?
So you talk about this being your first YA book, and it just makes me think about, like, maybe growing up. What would have meant to you to sort of see a trans character or a non-binary character as a hero in a story that you read? And was that sort of your inspiration for saying, I'm going to write this in a young adult book because this would have been super helpful to me growing up?
I think it would have opened up more possibility.
Yeah.
And I started writing books when I was 5. Like, I started writing children's books. I was illustrating them. I spent like a solid at least 5 years just plagiarizing Nancy Drew novels. But I was always writing, and all the characters that I wrote were all like these little white kids because I was reading Enid Blyton books. And I was just like reading a lot of like books for kids and like a lot of young adults. J.K. Rowling and C.S. Lewis, and it was just all white kids. And so to me, that was like the limit of the possibility, right? Was like, as a kid, you believe in the possibilities that you are given.
Yes.
And a lot of those happened through books. And I'm often curious, if I could, rewind time and be like, if I was given books that had different possibilities, wider possibilities, how would that have changed what I thought was possible? To have options, like to be able to choose something, you have to know that there are options. If you don't know that there are options, you don't have a choice because you have nothing to choose from.
And I think that's why this generation is so against these boxes that this society has sort of placed upon us, because they have the internet. They're able to see their options in so many different forms, which is beautiful. And pet is one of them.
They're making us sound old again. Stay tuned for episode 3. We're going to come back and have another amazing conversation. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks.